Dane Carter slowly opened his eyes. Everything was blurry. The light above him was soft and green, not like the white lights on human ships. The air smelled strange, like flowers mixed with metal. He tried to sit up, but felt a sharp pain in his chest. "Easy," a calm voice said. Dane turned his head. Sitting beside him was a young alien woman. She had smooth green skin, large, gentle eyes, and long, dark hair tied behind her head. She looked calm and peaceful. She wore a simple healer's robe with small glowing symbols along the sleeves. "You're safe now," she said with a soft smile. Dane blinked. "Where am I?" "You're in the recovery tent," she replied. "Medical outpost on neutral ground. You were pulled from the wreckage 3 days ago." Dane tried to remember. There had been a battle. His ship was under attack. Fire. Alarms. He remembered closing the door to save the others. After that, nothing. Did my crew survive?" he asked. The nurse nodded. "Yes. Thanks to your actions, they escaped in time." Dane let out a breath of relief. "I'm Kailari," she added. "I've been watching over you." He looked at her again. Her features were not human, but there was something comforting about her. Her voice was soft. Her presence was calm. "You've been talking in your sleep," she said, tilting her head slightly. Dane froze. "I what?" She smiled again, a little more this time. "You said many things. Most were emotional. Human dreams speak louder than words." Dane felt his face warm. "What exactly did I say?" Kailari didn't answer directly. She simply said, "You said something very brave, something worth remembering." That only made Dane more curious and slightly nervous. Kailari stood and checked a few readings on the glowing panels around his bed. Her hands moved quickly, yet gently. The machines were alien, but their purpose seemed familiar. Heart rate, oxygen, tissue healing. "You're healing well," she said. "Your ribs were broken, but the med patch is working. You'll walk in 2 days." Dane looked around. The tent was large but quiet. There were a few other beds with patients, some human, some alien. Soft lights moved across the walls, changing color slowly. Everything here felt peaceful. Too peaceful for someone who came from a war zone. He looked back at Kailari. "Are you part of the peacekeeping force?" She nodded. "Yes, my people do not fight. We heal. We listen." "You listen to dreams too?" Kailari looked at him with thoughtful eyes. "Only when they speak clearly." Dane laughed a little. "Well, sorry if I said anything strange." "You didn't," she said. "You said something very human." Dane lay back against the soft headrest, unsure what to make of that. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened one eye and looked at her again. "Tell me something," he said. "Do you always sit beside injured soldiers until they wake up?" Kailari raised an eyebrow. "Not always. Only the interesting ones." Dane smiled. "So I'm interesting now?" "You talk in your sleep. That makes you very interesting." They both laughed gently. Over the next few hours, Dane learned more about the place. The tent was part of a neutral field station set up after the recent truce. Soldiers and civilians from both sides were treated here. The healers were not aligned with any army. They believed in care above politics. Kailari was part of the Athari, a race known for their empathy and peacekeeping roles. They didn't fight wars. They calmed them. They were respected across many systems. As Kailari gave him food, soft, tasteless, paste that still helped him recover, Dane asked more questions. "Do the Athari really hear feelings?" he asked. "Not here," she corrected. "But we feel emotional patterns, especially during sleep. It's part of our training." "So, you felt my fear?" Kailari looked down for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, but also your courage. And something else. What? She stood and began adjusting his pillow. You were afraid of being forgotten. Dane froze. He hadn't told anyone that before. You said it while dreaming, Kailari continued. It was not shameful. It was honest. He looked away. It's not easy being in space. Sometimes you do the right thing and nobody remembers. Kailari touched the corner of his blanket and looked at him kindly. I remember. Later that night, as the lights in the tent dimmed and other patients rested, Dane couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about what Kailari said. You were afraid of being forgotten. I remember. There was something about those words, something that stayed with him. She didn't see him as just a human soldier. She saw his fears, his feelings, his choices. Somehow, she made it feel like it all mattered. As he slowly drifted off again, he wondered if he would dream. And if he did, would she be listening again? The next morning, Dane Carter sat up slowly on the bed. His chest still hurt, but the pain was softer now. His body was healing, thanks to the alien tech and care, but his mind was not as calm. He kept thinking about Kailari and what she said. You were afraid of being forgotten. How did she know? Was it just guessing? Or did she really hear his dreams? The tent was quiet. Some patients were being moved out. Others were still asleep. Kailari walked in, holding a small tray with a cup of warm green liquid. Good morning, she said, placing the tray near him. What's this? Dane asked. Healing tea, she replied. For lung strength and heart rhythm. Not very tasty, I warn you. Dane took a sip. It was bitter. He made a face, and Kailari smiled softly. It's good for you? She said. Dane took another sip and leaned back. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday. Kailari tilted her head. About your dream, he nodded. I still don't understand how you knew what I was feeling. Kailari sat beside him, folding her hands neatly. The Ethari have a skill. It's part science, part sense. When a person dreams deeply, their body gives off small signals, tiny sounds, changes in breath, heart rhythm, energy. We're trained to listen. So you read me like a book? Dane said. No, Kailari replied. More like a quiet song. I don't understand every word, but I feel the meaning. Dane looked away, unsure how to respond. He had never felt so exposed, yet also safe. Kailari spoke again, her voice low. Most warriors speak of battle, fear, or pain in their sleep. But you... She stopped. But me? He asked. You spoke of memories, she said. A family you missed, a promise you made, and a small dog named Moxie. Dane blinked. You heard about Moxie? Kailari smiled. You said she always waited by the door when you came home. Now Dane laughed. Yeah, she did. Every single time. That moment felt strange to him. They were from two different worlds, yet she knew about the smallest part of his life. A dog, a promise, a fear, things no soldier talks about during war. You told me that dreams are private, Dane said. Then why share this with me? Kailari answered. Because honesty creates healing. He nodded slowly. That made sense, at least here. Later in the day, other patients started greeting Dane differently. A human medic gave him a firm nod. An alien pilot from another tent passed by and called him Gate Locker. Dane frowned. Gate Locker? Kailari smiled. That's what the others call you now, for closing the ship's blast gate and saving your crew. I didn't tell anyone that. You didn't have to, she said softly. Dane's eyes narrowed. Did I talk about that too? In my sleep? Kailari said nothing. Her silence was answer enough. Dane leaned forward, whispering, Kailari, did I say anything classified? shook her head gently. No military secrets. Just truths from your heart. Dane sighed in relief, then his eyes narrowed again. Then why are people looking at me differently? Why did that pilot call me a hero? Kailari stood. Sometimes people need stories. Heroes. Your dream became one. Dane was stunned. His private thoughts, his pain, his fears, had become part of something bigger. A story spreading through the tents. I didn't want that, he said. I know, Kailari replied, but it helped others. That night, the lights dimmed once again. Dane couldn't sleep. His body was tired, but his mind was full. He stepped out of the tent, moving carefully, holding his side. Outside, the sky was full of stars. The medical camp stood in the middle of a rocky valley. Quiet, peaceful, far from battle. A few guards walked nearby, but no one stopped him. He sat on a flat stone and looked up at the stars. You shouldn't be out of bed, Kailari's voice said from behind. He turned. She had followed him quietly, carrying a thin blanket. I couldn't sleep, Dane admitted. She sat beside him, placing the blanket over his shoulders. The stars help, don't they? Yeah, he said. They make you feel small, but also part of something big. They sat together in silence. For a while, then Dane turned toward her. Why did you really stay by my bed? I know there were other patients. Kailari looked at the stars for a moment before answering. Because your dream was different. Most are filled with fear. Yours had hope. It was rare. Dane looked at her carefully. You think I'm special? She nodded. Not because of what you did, but because of what you felt. That made Dane go quiet. No one had ever said that to him before. Not in that way. When they returned to the tent, Kailari helped him lie back down. Before she left, Dane asked one last question. Kailari, if I dream again, will you still be listening? She looked at him with a gentle smile. Only if your dream is worth hearing. Dane closed his eyes. He didn't know if he would dream again that night, but somehow he hoped he would. The days passed slowly in the medical tent, but Dane Carter didn't mind. His wounds were healing well. He could now walk without help, and the pain in his side was almost gone. Still, something else kept him at the camp. Her name was Kailari. Every day, she checked on him, bringing his healing tea, asking how he felt, and sometimes sitting with him in quiet moments. Dane noticed things about her. How she always walked calmly, how her fingers moved gently, even when handling cold instruments, and how her smile made the tent feel warmer. He had never met anyone like her before. One evening, a storm rolled over the valley. Soft purple clouds filled the sky, and silver rain began to fall. The wind blew gently against the medical tents, and power systems flickered. Dane sat on the edge of his bed, watching the rain through the side of the tent. The lights dimmed and then went out completely. Only soft emergency lamps stayed on, casting a low golden glow. A few minutes later, Kailari entered, carrying a small lantern made of glowing stones. You're still awake, she said softly. Hard to sleep with the wind howling, Dane replied. Kailari smiled and placed the lantern on a stool near the bed. You're not afraid of storms? She asked. No, he said. I like them. Back on Earth, I used to sit by the window during storms. The sound helped me think. Kailari pulled a chair close and sat beside him. Our people believe storms bring memories, she said. That's why we sit and listen. Sometimes the storm brings a name we forgot, or a feeling we didn't notice. Dane looked at her. You really believe that? I do, she said. Do you? He nodded slowly. I think storms bring something. Maybe not memories, but something real. Kailari looked at him closely. You are not like the others. Other humans? He asked. Yes. Most speak of machines, weapons, orders. You speak of dogs, dreams. Silence. Dane chuckled. Maybe I just got hit in the head too hard. She tilted her head. Or maybe you are someone who feels deeply. That made Dane pause. He wasn't used to people saying things like that. He had spent most of his life in ships with soldiers, fixing engines and following orders. Feelings didn't belong there, but Kailari made it feel safe to speak. He looked at her. You said your people believe in dream speech, that it shows the truth? Yes. What if I told you I dreamt of this moment before it happened? Kailari's eyes widened slightly. You did? He shrugged. Not exactly. But when I was young, I had a dream that I was in a place with strange stars, hurt and lost. But someone sat beside me. They didn't say anything. They just listened. I think it felt like this. Kailari smiled gently. Perhaps your soul was preparing. Dane gave a quiet laugh. You make everything sound poetic. Because it is, she said. Your kind hides it, but I hear it in your voices. Your pain is loud, but so is your hope. Dane became serious. I used to have a brother, Eli. He always believed I would do something big. He said I had heart, but I was just the guy fixing wires. What happened to him? He died during a cargo run. Pirate ambush. I was supposed to be on that ship, but I had taken a sick day. Kailari said nothing. She placed her hand lightly on his. Dane looked down at her fingers. They were smooth, cool, and kind. He didn't pull away. I never told anyone that, he said. Not even my captain. Kailari nodded. Now it's not only inside you. Now someone carries it with you. For a moment, they sat in silence. The wind outside made the fabric walls sway. The lantern between them pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Then Kailari stood and walked to a small shelf. She picked up a round object and returned. This, she said, is a soul cord. It looked like a stone disc, flat and smooth, with a faint glow in the center. We use it when we want to remember something important. It holds the feeling, not the memory. Would you like to try it? Dane looked at her, unsure. What do I do? Hold it, she said, placing it in his hands. Think of a memory that still lives in you, one that shaped your path. Dane closed his eyes. He thought of Eli, the way he used to laugh, how he always shared half his food, how he believed in Dane, even when Dane didn't believe in himself. The disc grew warmer in his hands. Kailari nodded slowly. It has accepted your cord. What happens now? Dane asked. She took the disc gently and placed it on the table. Now it rests. And when you feel lost, you may hold it again. It will remind you of who you are. Dane felt something in his chest, a tightness loosening, a quiet kind of peace. You've done a lot for me, he said, more than just fixing. Wounds. Kailari looked at him, her eyes soft. And you've given me something too. Me? He asked, surprised. She nodded. Most patients speak with fear or anger. You speak with heart. It reminds me why we heal. The storm began to slow outside. The wind grew softer. The rain became a whisper. Kailari stood to leave. Kailari, Dane said suddenly, if I talked in my sleep again, would you still listen? She looked back at him and smiled. I always do, she said, and stepped out of the tent. Dane lay back, staring at the ceiling. He felt different now. Not just stronger, but seen, and for the first time in a long while, he hoped he would dream again. Dane Carter stood outside the tent, watching the cargo ship land in the valley. Dust rose as the engines cooled, and a soft beep echoed in his wristband. It was a message from Earth Command. You are cleared for transport. Return immediately. For full debriefing. He knew this moment was coming. His wounds were healed, his legs strong again. He could walk, climb, run, even fight, but a part of him wasn't ready to leave. Not yet. Inside the tent, Kalari was helping another patient. Her movements were careful, her voice calm as always. Dane waited near the entrance. He didn't want to interrupt, but he also didn't want to leave without saying goodbye. Kalari finished her work and walked toward him, a question in her eyes. "You're leaving," she said softly. He nodded. "The ship's ready. Earth wants me back." "I see." Neither of them spoke for a moment. The quiet was heavy. "I thought I would feel happy," Dane said. "But I don't." Kalari stepped closer. "Because this place gave you more than healing?" He nodded again. "I came here broken. Not just my body. My thoughts, too. You helped me find something I didn't know I needed." Kalari gave him a small smile. "And you gave something in return." She held something in her hands. A small object, shaped like a drop of water. It glowed gently, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. "This is yours," she said. "It's a memory stone. It carries your soul cord." Dane took it carefully. It felt warm in his palm. "Thank you," he said. "I'll keep it with me." Kalari nodded. "When you hold it, you'll remember who you were here. Not the soldier, not the mechanic, just Dane." That made him smile. "Just Dane. I like that." They walked outside the tent together. The valley wind was soft today. The storm from before had washed the dust from the rocks. The sky looked clean and wide. The cargo ship stood on the far end of the camp. A human officer was waving at him from the ramp. "You should go," Kalari said. "I know," Dane replied. "But one last thing." She looked up at him. "If I come back," he said, "do you think things would be the same?" Kalari didn't answer right away. Then she spoke gently. "Things never stay the same, but sometimes they become something even better." Dane stepped back. "Then I hope I come back soon." Kalari reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers rested on his wrist, light but warm. "I hope so too," she whispered. He walked slowly toward the ship. Each step felt heavier than it should have. He didn't look back until he reached the ramp. When he turned, Kalari was still standing near the tent, her hand resting over her heart. Dane raised the memory stone in a small wave, then boarded the ship. The trip back to Earth was quiet. No one asked questions during the ride. No one talked about the war, or the crash, or the healing camp. Dane sat in his seat holding the memory stone in his palm. It pulsed softly, like it was alive. At the Earth Command Center, he was taken into a debriefing room. Officers in clean uniforms stood behind a glass wall watching him. A commander walked in with a tablet in his hand. "You were in Sector 9 when your ship was hit," the commander said. "Yes," Dane replied. "You were found at a peacekeeper medical camp. Not a human one. Is that correct?" "Yes." The commander's tone was calm, but cold. "Did you say anything sensitive while unconscious?" Dane blinked. "Excuse me?" The commander showed him a screen. It displayed strange lines, sound, waves, energy patterns, and alien text. "This is a dream speech record," the commander explained. "The alien nurse collected your emotional patterns. We want to know if anything leaked." Dane frowned. "That wasn't part of any mission. I didn't say anything secret. Not in words, but alien species have their own ways of listening. Emotional data can reveal more than you think." Dane leaned back in his chair. "What do you want me to say?" The commander stared at him. "Did you trust her?" Dane didn't answer for a long time. Then he looked straight at the man and said, "Yes, I did." The room went quiet. The commander wrote something on his tablet and left without another word. Later, Dane walked alone through the Earth base. It felt colder here. Everything was clean and sharp. but it lacked the calm warmth of the tent, the glow of the rest stone, or the gentle voice of Kailari. He reached into his pocket and took out the memory stone. It pulsed again, just once. He smiled. Whatever happened next, he would never forget the alien nurse, the tent, or the quiet nights. When someone finally listened to his heart, he wasn't just a name on a list anymore. He was Dane, and he was going back. Dane Carter sat alone in a small white room at Earth Command headquarters. There were no windows, just smooth walls, a table, 2 chairs, and a camera in the corner. He had been here for over an hour, waiting. The door opened. A tall officer in a dark uniform entered, holding a thin tablet. She looked serious, her hair tied tight behind her head. "Sergeant Dane Carter," she said. "I'm Commander Reeve. I'll be handling your case." Dane nodded politely. "Yes, ma'am." She sat across from him and placed the tablet on the table. Her fingers tapped it once. A soft hum filled the room, then stopped. Some kind of signal blocker. "Before we start," she said, "I need to ask you one question." Dane waited. "Did the alien nurse give you anything?" Dane was surprised. "Excuse me?" "A device, a gift. Anything that records, transmits, or stores information." He slowly pulled the memory stone from his pocket and placed it on the table. "It's not a weapon," he said. "It's just a memory." Commander Reeve stared at it. "You're sure?" Dane nodded. "It's personal. She said it holds emotion, not data." The commander didn't touch the stone. Instead, she tapped her tablet again. A file opened with strange symbols and human text. "This is a dream speech report," she said. "Your emotional pattern was recorded during your time in the alien tent. Our systems detected unusual spikes." "Spikes?" Dane asked. "Signals that matched command-level emotional states. Fear, loyalty, grief, courage, all very strong. The kind that can shape soldiers or influence war." Dane crossed his arms. "So now feelings are dangerous?" The commander didn't smile. "When shared with alien species, maybe." Dane looked at the memory stone. "They helped me. They didn't try to control me. Kailari didn't use my dreams against me." "She's the alien nurse?" "Yes." "Did she ever mention our military plans? Ask about troop numbers? Human weaknesses?" "No," Dane said firmly. "Never." Commander Reeve leaned forward. "You're not in trouble, Sergeant. But Earth Council wants to understand what happened. Why did an alien, someone outside, the Human Alliance, stay by your bed for 3 days and listen to your unconscious thoughts?" Dane thought for a moment, then answered honestly. "Because I wasn't just a soldier to her. I was a person. I was hurting, and she cared." Reeve sat back slowly. "Some on the council believe humans are too emotional, that we trust too easily." "Maybe," Dane replied. "But maybe that's why people remember us." That evening, Dane was released from the debrief room. They didn't take the memory stone. He kept it in his hand, feeling its soft pulse as he walked through the base. He was free to return home. A transport was waiting, but Dane didn't go. Instead, he walked toward the research wing. A friend from his engineering days worked there. Milo Wren, a tech analyst who owed him a favor. Milo raised an eyebrow when he saw Dane. "You look like you've been through a storm," he said. "I have," Dane replied. "And I need your help." He placed the memory stone on Milo's workbench. "I need to know what's inside." Milo blinked. "Isn't that alien tech?" "Yes, but not dangerous," Dane said. "It holds a feeling. That's what she told me." She, Dane, didn't explain. He just looked at the stone, then back at his friend. "Please, Milo, I need to hear it again." Milo sighed but nodded. "All right, let's see what we can pull." After 2 hours of scanning and analysis, Milo connected the stone to a low energy. Reader. The device lit up softly. A sound played. It wasn't a voice. Not exactly. It was more like an echo, a whisper wrapped in music, a memory pressed into rhythm. But then slowly, Dane began to recognize words. His own voice, spoken in a dream. I just want someone to remember me. The room went quiet. Milo looked at him with wide eyes. That's you? Dane nodded, eyes locked on the screen. Then another voice came through. Not words, but tones. Clear, gentle, calm. Kaylari's voice, her emotional reply. It sounded like care, like trust, like quiet understanding. It's like a message, Milo whispered. Between hearts, Dane picked up the stone again. Now do you understand? He asked. Milo nodded. Yeah, this isn't just tech. It's a connection. The next morning, Dane made his decision. He walked into the Earth Council office and handed over his clearance badge. I want to apply for the Peace Envoy program, he said. The officer looked confused. You were just cleared for home leave. Why join now? Because Earth keeps sending weapons, Dane said. But I want to send something better. The officer frowned. And what would that be? Dane smiled quietly and held up the memory. Stone. Understanding. That night, Dane sat in his small quarters and looked up at the stars through a glass window. His travel request was approved. In 2 days, he would return to the same planet where it all began. Back to the valley. Back to the tent. Back to Kaylari. He held the stone one last time before sleeping, and just before he closed his eyes, he whispered her name. The journey back felt long for Dane Carter. The stars outside the ship's window were beautiful, but they didn't bring the same comfort as the quiet night skies of the alien planet. He hadn't realized how much he missed it, how much he missed her, until the transport arrived and he saw the familiar dusty valley again. He stepped off the ship, breathing in the fresh air. The planet's surface felt warmer today, even though the sun wasn't high in the sky. The quiet was welcoming. There was something calming about this place, something that didn't exist on Earth. His steps felt lighter as he walked through the camp. It had grown a little, more structures and tents set up to help with the ongoing peace mission. But there was still the same soft hum of activity, the same peaceful buzz in the air. As he approached the medical tents, his heart started to beat faster. There, standing by the entrance of the same tent he had once woken up in, was Kaylari. She looked the same as before, graceful, calm, with that gentle smile that made everything feel easier. But this time, when their eyes met, Dane knew something was different. There was more understanding between them now. The bond they had started was stronger. And this time, there were no walls between them. Kaylari stepped forward, her eyes soft. Dane? Kaylari, he said, his voice filled with warmth. She tilted her head slightly, looking at him with the same care in her eyes. You came back. I said I would. He stepped closer, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The sounds of the camp seemed distant as they just stood there, facing each other. It was as if everything else had faded. Kaylari finally broke the silence, her voice quiet but sure. I'm glad you did. Dane took a deep breath, then reached into his pocket and pulled out the memory stone. It was still warm in his hand, as it always was when he held it. He could feel it pulsing gently, like it was alive, like it carried part of his soul with it. I kept this, he said, holding it out to her. I didn't understand what it was at first, but I do now. It's not just a memory, it's a connection, something that can help remind us of who we are, even when we feel lost. Kaylari looked at the stone, her eyes widening slightly. It's a part of you. Dane nodded. And I want you to have it too. I never could have understood the meaning of it without you. For a moment, Kaylari seemed lost in thought. Then she reached out and took the stone from his hand. Her fingers brushed against his, sending a soft spark of warmth through him. "I can't keep it," she said gently. "But I will carry its meaning, always." Dane raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "The connection," Kalari explained. "The peace, the truth we shared. That is something I will carry." He nodded slowly, understanding. This wasn't about the stone. It was about the bond they had formed, the understanding between them that went beyond words. "I'm staying here," Dane said, his voice steady. "I applied for the Peace Envoy program. I want to help bridge the gap between our people, to make sure this peace lasts." Kalari smiled softly. "You truly want to do that?" "I do," he replied. "I believe in what we started here." The quiet wind brushed past them, making the tent walls flutter softly. The camp around them continued its work, but for a few moments, it felt as if time had stopped. "You are a brave human, Dane Carter," Kalari said, her voice full of admiration. "I am honored to have helped you." Dane looked at her with sincerity. "And I am honored to have met you." They stood in silence for a few moments more, the connection between them growing even stronger. Finally, Kalari spoke again. "There is much work to be done, but I think we've already taken the first step. Together." Dane smiled. Together. Later that day, they stood before the larger council tent, where leaders from both human and alien sides would meet. The discussions had already begun, but there was something different now. A quiet understanding had begun to take root between them, something that could not be undone. Kalari walked beside him as they entered the tent. The leaders looked at them both with curiosity, some with caution, others with interest, but Dane felt no fear. He was no longer just the soldier. He was something more, a symbol of the possibility that peace could be more than just a word. As they took their seats at the table, Kalari looked at him once more, her eyes shining with respect. "You will be a voice for your people," she said softly. "And they will listen." Dane looked around at the alien leaders, then back at her. "We'll make them listen." Days turned into weeks, and Dane found his new role fulfilling. There were long discussions, moments of tension, but also moments of understanding. Humans and aliens, side by side, trying to find common ground. It wasn't easy, but it was real, and through it all, Kalari was by his side, not as a nurse, not as a healer, but as an equal. Together, they worked to build something new. Dane knew this was only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, moments of doubt, but now he was ready to face whatever came next, because he wasn't alone, and neither were the people he was fighting for. As the stars filled the sky once more, Dane sat in his quarters looking out over the valley. The wind was calm now, the air clear. The world felt peaceful, like it had taken a deep breath and was settling into something better. He looked down at the memory stone, now resting on his desk. The pulse had slowed, but it still felt alive. He didn't need it to tell him what he had learned. He wasn't just remembered, he was understood, and that, more than anything, was enough.